Hello, Nick. I like filters, and I like you as well. I want to start this video off by pointing out that I like you very much. I like your demeanor. I don't even want to go into it too much because I'll just get into superficial things, you know, like your setting. I love your house. I can understand why you might feel like, oh, things just are as they must be. You know, you're in a place that has a wonderful vibe. And I feel like probably, from my point of view, you have a tremendous will and have spread this vibe of your will out into your life, and it's a very nice feeling vibe. Now, when we choose an antipode, interlocutor antipode, for these intellectual discussions, I like to choose people that actually agree with me to a large degree. Now, why? Why would I want to disagree with people that I'm very much alike? Because the closer you are to this other person, the smaller the distance between you. And when you focus a lot of energy and shine a lot of energy on that, you see very small distances. The gradation and detail you see are very small and fine. And another way of thinking about it is that if we agree on many points, then we fix those variables. And that means there's fewer variables left over that we have to adjust and see where we disagree. Now, you and I agree on a lot of things. You're not a dualist. You are intent on following your materialism to its logical and material conclusions, and so am I. We have differed on that, but that's just because we went in different directions. And you know, largely I think that's because you followed this material direction. The fact that people aren't as in control of themselves nearly. This is something you might not appreciate that we agree on. I agree. People are not nearly as in as much control as they seem to think. But you follow that to a material conclusion that none of us are in any sort of control. Whereas I think we're just one of the wills in the mind. And we don't have a lot of control because our will is not as strong and as good at organizing these other wills as it can be. And even if it was as good as it could be, it would not be the strongest will. It would be, if it did ever control things as conscious will, it would be a juggling act, not a power play. So, I feel that we're very close and we can see the differences we have. And that's basically the difference right there, okay? Now, regarding this issue of not wanting to ever ascribe yourself as some ism, I understand this, but I want to take a little liberty and tell you that I used to feel that way very strongly. Now, I've never really liked the way groups operate and think. I've always rather despised it. Okay, so my initial conditions are that I grew up thinking groups were pretty lame and pretty much always made idiots out of individuals that as individuals were not idiots. And so I sort of blamed groups. But as I grew older, I also learned what groups could accomplish together when they did work even a little bit well. And I realized I had to get some balance in this. But while I was so extremely unimpressed with groups, I really came to loathe, in a similar way I just made a video about loathing the term postmodernism, similar feeling, not for the same reasons. I came to loathe isms because, like you said, people use them or try to use them to think for themselves when they should be thinking for themselves, and this doesn't work very well, and it makes idiots out of people that could be brighter. No matter how smart you are, you'll be less smart when you pull this little trick. But that's if you invest your identity in that system, in that ism. If you instead are just using that ism as a tool, then it's much safer practice. And this is the beauty and secret of relativism. Relativism is a perspective under which you can understand that each philosophy, while flawed, will show strengths in certain circumstances and weaknesses in others. And in any one circumstance, you can apply more than one of these isms and get extra points of view, besides this point of view that might just be native, when you, without an ism, go, what do I think about that? Because you are an ism too. It might not be expressed as such, but you have a way of looking at things. It may be unnamed, maybe it's unique and not shared with anybody else, but it's there. So why not use these other ones that are named? They're good reference points. They provide reference points by being named. Other people can understand what you were thinking in fairly and arbitrarily complex senses if they understand what sort of ideas you're applying. And the other thing is that even if you don't willfully use these perspectives to analyze them, I can see if what you're doing can be described as this isn't. So, for example, with determinism, I can see that you are performing an analysis behavior that has a particular name. I'm not saying you always apply that, not at all, but sometimes I might point that out and say, hey, you're not being consistent. But that's not the case. I'm not pointing that out here, but I'm just saying, even if you apply something a lot, that doesn't mean you're going to be stuck applying it. It doesn't mean I'm going to say you can't change your opinion about applying it in that situation. It doesn't even mean that I'm going to be too picky or too strict about maybe in some other area, like in tea time talk, where you don't apply determinism. Okay, especially if you're consciously open about it like you are. Now, I do have some complaints about the tea time talk because it's okay to have tea time talk. I do the same kind of thing, use the words as people expect them to be used, but you do have to have a philosopher talk, and you do try to do some of this, but I think you could do more of how do we express these things. I find the most simplest things almost unexpressible if I really eliminate all references to there being a will and choice and that sort of element in our epistemology. So I think if my point is that if you are going to simply refuse, and not only won't name yourself, but you will object to me labeling myself in this loose way, not that I'm going to stay shackled to it, not that I can't violate it, but just saying, hey, I'm a subjectivist in this situation. I'm a willist about will because I have to admit I'm very pro-will enough to declare that just as a matter of fairness. Okay? And two, when I apply it to you, you do have behaviors that are reminiscent of patterns that we've seen before. Now, I don't want to apply a label to you successfully that shouldn't be applied to you. If you want to say, no, look, my behaviors X, Y, and Z do not match this description, then fine. But if your behaviors, your intellectual behaviors, your speech acts, if your speech betrays an implicit belief, then you have to be willing to let me talk about that in terms of whatever name that pattern has been given. Now, I'm not going to say you have to go read a book where that name was coined or anything like that. I don't think the people that coin terms often get the final say in what the term means, whether it's meme or karma or whatever. So that's not necessary. What we'll do is I'll describe to you the meaning of a term I use, and you can describe it back to me. And please don't take it as a label, but also know that you can't shirk responsibility for these analysis patterns as well. I mean, and not that it's a negative responsibility, but I'm just saying, there's a point at which it's too coy, to deny that you're applying some idea or system that has been named, and that the name helps us talk about that pattern, and so therefore it's appropriate to bring up. Cheers for now.